As we head towards Fringe season, although Fringe festivals of course happen all year round all over the world, here in the UK, and actually beginning I think with FringeReview, we're just about to start covering Pittsburgh Fringe. During troubled times, there are still Fringe festivals that are going to be happening, celebrations of art, but hopefully explorations too of some of the big questions of our time through the world of the arts. And for me, as I've said many times before, that's what Fringe really means, or ought to mean. It's the fringe on the mainstream. And when the mainstream is behaving in ways that require challenge, it's the arts that really ought to be doing it. But Fringe is on the way. So apart from having a lolly, it's probably good to share 5 gritty thoughts, very practical thoughts with you in the run up to the Fringe season. And I'll just take my time point, my cairnstone, being Edinburgh in August. We've got Brighton Fringe here in Brighton, where the UK has its, I think it's its second largest arts festival, down by the sea. These Fringe festivals are happening, and we are particularly here at FringeReview getting press releases from shows at those two, but I've just heard of Buxton Fringe, Fringes right across the world. Now, of course, you might be at one of those Fringe festivals and these tips might be particularly relevant to you. The first one is deliberately countercultural, and all of these tips are going to be a bit gritty because the advice that you will see in most books, most websites offering tips on how to have a successful Fringe festival could be drawn from the corporate world. They talk about setting your purpose, setting your expectations, having clear goals, objectives, having a strategy. And for me, that actually started really creeping in the late 1970s, where the arts was being framed more and more as if it's a business that had to have a business case and make a return on its investment. Certainly, the Arts Council was saying if you want funding, you need to make a business plan. And my first tip actually invites you to do that if you want to, but also to do quite the opposite of that. Have a serious amount of time not thinking about your show, but maybe feeling about your show, maybe just sitting back, maybe with a lolly, or maybe with whatever is your relaxation tipple and snacks. Here in Brighton, we can go sit down on the beach and look out to sea and just feel your way into your Fringe and just see what comes up for you in terms of perhaps how you might get excited about it, what's going to feel good about it, what you're scared about it, what will be you absolutely at your Fringe, at your edge, poking at your own perhaps mediocre mainstream. What is it that's making you feel passionate? And that's a what question, which is a bit too busy. So it doesn't even need to be a what. It can just be something you notice, something that over the next month or two you sit with. But if you've been too much in your head, if you've been too clever for your boots, if you've been too strategic and maybe sounding a bit like a corporation rather than an artist, is have a good break from that and have maybe a ritual every week where you put rationality aside and go for a little bit of the craziness, the creativity, the emergence that might just creep up on you and surprise you. And when that happens, what you might find is it's quite the opposite to what your plan says, and you might want to just shift away from something that was heading towards something that was too clever, too rational, and too predictable. So the second thing, perhaps the second tip, I'm trying to avoid sounding like we're a corporation, which we're not necessarily, is to clear the air. And you may have been at the Fringe Festival that you're going to last year and going to this year again. And tensions come up and things remain unresolved. And sometimes there are conversations we ought to have. There are sorries we ought to say. We should go thank somebody. We're going around with a new idea, and actually we need to honour the person that put that idea into us. And we certainly shouldn't be in a rouse about whose idea it is. And maybe just to take a break from competitiveness and take a break from irritation and nursing grudges and maybe somebody that you need to pay that you haven't paid, and that's turning into a little bit of a conversation. And if you can't pay them, work out some sort of payment plan just to acknowledge that somebody did something for you and you've swept it under the mat. That happens a lot in the arts. So who do you owe? Who do you owe an apology? Is there somebody that maybe ought to come and resolve something with you and you need to invite them to do so? But particularly if it's around your show, let's get rid of the fog, the mist. It could be uncomfortable, but let's clear the air. The third practical tip is what I call the refresh. And it simply may be that you've written your script, you're all in rehearsals. It could well be that you have already written your press releases. It could be you've already decided on the logo, the tagline, you're already announcing stuff, and so on. And where you can, it won't do any harm. I want you to put on the court jester's outfit, the king's fool maybe, and whisper in your own ear, or allow your group to do that, where you challenge your own mediocrity. And it may not be mediocrity, it might survive that attempt, but is there anything that you settled on too quickly? Is there anything that just needs a refresh? The arts is creative. It can be the zone of discomfort. But what if we turn things on their head, turn things inside out, challenge the status quo? Say if your Fringe Festival is next week, that's not necessarily a good idea. If it is in Edinburgh in August, there's plenty of time still to shake things up before you decide now we're at deadline and things don't get changed anymore. That might be natural to you, but for others, the danger is we seek the comfort zone, particularly in an uncertain world. My fourth one, I'm going to bundle these all together, but it is to remind you that the planet is heating up, and that might have been completely taken off the agenda by certain politics and so on. But it's only at the Edinburgh Fringe you notice the piles of paper and the struggle the Fringe has to try and recycle stuff. But you will feel better, I believe, at your Fringe Festival if you can go in proudly and say, we are restraining. We have an ability to restrain the amount of resources that we're using. We're doing things because less is more. We are saving energy where we can. We are reusing. And we're finding minimalism, without being mean, can be a really good thing for mental health. But where have we over-designed, overused? Where have we confused abundance with greed? How can we be good citizens of the earth while we pursue our fringe work and have a strategy? Yeah, and I think this is a good time to have a strategy to make sure that as you tour around, that you do that in the way that's best for Mother Earth. My final one simply comes back to something that's so obvious it's easy to forget, and it sort of links to the others, but I think this is key. And it's become a bit of a hackneyed phrase, a bit of a cliche, but I want you to be okay. That's the question I most ask people at the Edinburgh Fringe where it's a cacophony of chaos. Are you okay? Are you all right? Look at your well-being. Are you eating well? Are you resting well? Are you too focused on this very thing? The irony is not lost in me that this is going to be watched on a screen. But is it too much screen time? Are you spending too much time emailing on your laptop? Have you become addicted to your own image on TikTok? Is it time to take a break from screen time and to come back into the physical world and to taste your food and to breathe the clear air where you can get it? Go out into nature, find your nearest park, even a square in the city where there's a bit of greenery. Time to slow down, time to take proper rests. The idea that the Fringe is a place of busyness, it can create a kind of frenzied excitement, but actually it can be manic for all the wrong reasons. Have you built time and rest into your rehearsal schedule? Are you looking after yourself? If there's stuff that's eating away at you, if you've got health practitioners you need to go and see, just check in. If you've got friends, shoulders to cry on, all of those things. Are you designing a Fringe that's going to be a nightmare because it's under-resourced for whatever reasons? But busyness and, I'm shaking my lolly, busyness isn't necessarily good for its own sake. And I meet people at the Fringe who have paced it really well, and they're not necessarily going for the top, if the top means that they completely burn out. And finally, if you've burned out already from too many shows, before you do your run up to the Fringe, is it time to have a break? Even just going off for a few walks, putting your feet up. But don't burn out, because in the end, if you're ill at the Fringe, it'll affect your show anyway. Anyway, a few tips, slightly off the beaten track, and I hope you find them useful. Oh no, I better open it first.